The KTM 390 Adventure is not a brand new motorbike, it's not a 2021 year model, but it's such a good adventure, let's say entry adventure motorbike, that we really would like to show it to you. Which riders the KTM 390 Adventure is good for? This is the main question, and now we are not going to speak about it at the end of the review, but at the very beginning of the review. First of all, we can think that this is good for those riders who have only A2 driver's license or rider's license, so who they need a bike under 48 brake horsepower. But this bike is not good for only these riders, because there are a lot of people riding motorcycle all around the world who are not wishing, because of their age, knowledge, past and things like this, don't want to ride on public roads over 200 kilometers per hour. But they, or I can say we, who want a bike which is comfortable to ride on it, comfortable on soft off-road terrains, comfortable on bad or poor quality asphalt roads, and well packageable, doesn't need too much fuel, and those people who do not want to ride ever over 150 kilometers per hour, but mainly we ride, let's say, between 100 and 120, for a lot of people like us, this is a perfect solution. Let's check why. When we watch the bike from the outside, it's absolutely surely a KTM adventure motorbike, starting with the absolutely KTM main light in the front, which is absolutely, of course, full LED, looking like a Spartan warrior or a bug, or I don't know what, who is thinking to what from it. But that part, the windshield, the whole front part, the fuel tank, and the whole silhouette of the bike is absolutely similar to the bigger KTM adventure models, even when you check that the first wheel, which is here 19-inch, and the rear wheel, which is here 17-inch, so the bigger front and the smaller rear wheel, and the whole silhouette is absolutely the same as all the other KTM adventure bikes. Of course, the dimensions are all smaller than the bigger cubic capacity brothers. As usually, one of the strongest parts of the KTM 390 Adventure is the suspension. In the front we have two telescopic forks coming from wide power, of course. The travel is 170 millimeters and they are 43 millimeter wide, so really thick and massive ones. And in the rear we have a central suspension unit, WP Apex, and a lot of parameters of the whole suspension is possible to set up. We are going to check it in a moment when I stop. Anyhow, the knowledge of this suspension is absolutely sufficient and enough for riding the bike on light off-road conditions, for example on roads like this. And what is an important part, that we have springs in both of the telescopic forks, and on the left one we can set up the compression, and on the right one the rebound damping, so you can really set up the whole front part pretty well. And in the rear section, if we check the central suspension unit, we can see that we can change the preload on the top of it, although with an instrument, and in the bottom of it I can change the rebound damping, so the whole suspension can be really set it up pretty well to your needs. Although I have to say that with my approximately 100 kilograms body weight, it's really working pretty well in these light off-road conditions. The engine is also not a new thing because we know it from a lot of other KTM and also Husqvarna motorbikes. This is a 373 cubic centimeter one-cylinder DOHC gasoline engine with a pretty high power output. Is 43.5 brake horsepower, and this power is absolutely enough to move this lightweight, because the dry weight is under 160 kilos, this lightweight motorbike pretty dynamically on public roads and light off-road. So the acceleration and everything is absolutely fine, although the maximum power is really coming on high RPM, close to 10,000. But normally between 4,000 and let's say 9,000, the knowledge of it related or because of the weight of the bike is absolutely fine to ride with it. Although the maximum speeds and the relatively light weight of the 390 Adventure wouldn't need two qualified brake system, but we can say that KTM made this part to the maximum just as the suspension. The main part is in the front, where we can find a 320mm, only one but pretty huge brake disc with a radial 4-piston caliper coming from Biber from India, and also we have ABS system which we can switch to off-road as well. We are going to speak about it a little bit later. The 390 Adventure doesn't have too many weak points. One of them is the wind protection, because the factory windshield is a pretty small piece. I have to say that I'm 190 centimeters tall. It takes out the wind pressure from my chest part, but my shoulders, my arms, and also the helmet gets a lot of wind and also wind noise. But it's a good news that the bigger windshields and the touring windshields of the 790 and 890 Adventures are absolutely fitting to this bike, so it's only a few movements to change them inside KTM house. Except of this wind protection, all the other parts of the whole seat position is absolutely proper. Although for those guys who have these extremely long legs like me, the knee angle we can say can be a little bit sharp, but this is not absolutely not discomfortable even for me. By the way, when you remove the rubbers from the foot pegs, it's going to be much and feelably comfortable. But from the waist, all the other things are really 100% or even more, because you can sit with a totally straight back, loose arms, and you can watch here very well, and your back is an absolutely straight and fine position. So all the seat position is absolutely nice, and the seat itself is relatively hard. So we can say that after 1.5 hours, 2 hours riding, you feel a little bit like that it would be nice to stop and take off it a little bit. But what is important, that the length of the rider's place is extremely long. So when you sit on the bike and riding longer distances, you can also sit here to the front, we can say on your balls, or you can even sit this back on your ass. So all in all, you can move in such a big area. Then when you are really riding long distances, changing your position can make the whole thing much more comfortable for you. The dashboard of the 390 Adventure is a really 21st century liquid crystal, absolutely colorful, and with all the knowledge that we expect nowadays from a bike like this. We have a lot of data, the RPM, the gear indicator, current speed, distances, lots of data which are, we can say, normal and everyday, and we have 4 data which we can set up to our according to our wishes. And what is important, that from the left handlebar with these 4 buttons, it's really easily and without watching here you can go any part of the menu. There is a trip 1, and the Trip 2, let's say, board computer. You can define all the data, both of them. And what is really important that I have to speak about the consumption of the bike, because although it's really a powerful mid-size touring bike, when I was riding on normal public roads with let's say normal speeds, approximately 100 kilometers per hour, it was under 3 liters per 100 kilometers, and riding highway really high speed, related to the knowledge of the bike, of course, so 140-50 kilometers per hour, it went up a little bit below 5 liters per 100 kilometers, so you can calculate with these. But let's speak about the menu and this knowledge. Here you can go to the motorcycle menu, where you can set up the ABS, for example, because you can use it on a roadway and an off-road way. In the off-road way, the rear ABS is not working, and the front one is working with a rarer menu than the normal one. You can also switch on and off the traction control, and also set up at what RPM you need the quick shift to flash the RPM's color. You can go to all the trip data and set up a lot of things here, and you can go to the settings menu, where you can really set up lots of things on the bike. And what is also a pretty important thing is that you have the KTM My Ride, even on this 390 Adventure, with which you can pair it with your mobile phone, and then from your mobile phone you can listen to your music or even navigate. So the knowledge of this part is really absolutely up to the 21st century. Although this is, we can say, an entry-level adventure bike from KTM, but anyhow the things which are built in and which you get for a basic price are absolutely on a full category. So the whole and really full knows everything, suspension, the powerful engine, and the ABS, which also have an off-road program, the switchable traction control, and all the small things that you have, the handguard, which is a pretty big and fixed thing. So all these things are in the basic price. Even, for example, this gear indicator or gear changer, which is moving and not going to be hurt when you fall with the motorbike. The downer engine cover and all the things, even a quick shifter, that is the only thing that you have to pay for. But anyhow, all the other things are inside the price, which is a totally reliable one. And now let's check out what this 43.5 brake horsepower is enough when we ride on a highway with a 390 Adventure. So now I am decreasing the speed to 60 kilometers per hour, and let's start from third speed. Not full throttle, absolutely not full throttle. The flashing light is only because the gear indicator is fixed to a very low RPM. This is the only reason. And as you can see, we reached the Hungarian legal highway speed very easily, not a high throttle at all, at a 7,000 RPM. So it's really easy to ride a bike with this speed. But I can tell you a secret that it can ride even 15, 20 kilometers per hour more also very easily, and even then case when you are riding uphill. So when you have to ride longer distances on highway, although you will use 7,000-8,000 RPM permanently, but you will be able to move normally with the small KTM Adventure. And there is a really big advantage of the small sizes of the 330 Adventures, because when you get to a really heavy traffic like this, although some places there is wide enough area, but even when you ride on a narrow place and you have to make narrow maneuvers, then this bike is really fitting to it, turning very well in narrow places as well, and it's really a fine thing to ride it in conditions like this in a traffic jam. A really big advantage of a short wheelbase motorbike like this is the really small turning angle. A two-lane public road is even too comfortable for it, we can say. So all in all, KTM made such a good small adventure bike with this 390 Adventure that, I will be very honest with you, originally I didn't want to make this review, I was not planning it at all, but I tried this bike on an event and afterwards I asked for it to be able to make the review of it, because I found that this is such a good bike which would be absolutely enough for lots of people who normally buy bigger, heavier and stronger motorbikes. I am pretty sure that after a few years I will change my BMW F800 GS something like this, which is smaller, even weaker, but to ride with it can be the same fun or even bigger. Please push a thumb up on it. In the description under the film you can find the link where you can donate our work, then we thank it very much to you. And of course subscribe for our channel and watch our previous contents as well, and thanks a lot for your kind attention.